I notice when people come to town, as well as people that have lived here, moved here, and are living here and working here, they just don't think of Florence as having any history.
I'm sure the older communities looked on with fascination as Florence began growing, and they just didn't understand what was happening over here.
It was after the days of World War II, that is after 1945, when Florence really burst into the New South.
I think Florence's future is brilliant.
1, 2, 3.
It should be, if we can keep all of our forces working together and for the same purposes.
Prior to 1854, there was no Florence and no Florence County. The west bank of the Great Pee River was a swampy pine forest, bypassed by early settlers. After the Revolutionary War, there were a few scattered landowners with slaves in the region. With the invention of the cotton gin, cotton became very profitable. But transportation was an issue.
The rise of cotton really starts in the 1820s and 30s. And the difficulty was how to get the cotton to a port to export it. You could either send it down the Pee River to Georgetown, and then from Georgetown down the coast to Charleston. That was a cumbersome way to get cotton to the market. And the railroad promised the means of getting cotton from the interior to the ports.
In the late 1840s, construction began on the Wilmington and Manchester Railroad, which would connect the port of Wilmington with the cotton fields of the Pee. This would be an economic boon for Wilmington, but disaster for the port of Charleston.
The Charlestonians took alarm and they decided to build a rail directly north from Charleston. They called it the Northeastern Railroad. And they also promoted another railroad, a third railroad up to Cheraw, called the Cheraw and Darlington Railroad.
The three railroads joined at a remote place in the Pines, a place never calculated to become a settlement, a town, a city, a regional hub. A place that would be called Florence. William Wallace Harley served as president of the Wilmington and Manchester Railroad. Harley was a lawyer, soldier, and statesman, lieutenant governor of South Carolina in 1860, and signer of the Ordinance of Secession. To General Harley went the honor of naming the railroad's junction point.
Harleysville was suggested for that name. However, there was another town in South Carolina by that name, so Colonel Fleming, who was superintendent of the railroad, suggested he name the railroad station after his eldest daughter, Florence, and that's how Florence got its name.
A silver cup was presented to 6-year-old Florence Harley when the Florence station was dedicated. And Florence became a tiny outpost catering to rail passengers and workers.